Hello students, I'm Himani Sharma, your UGC NET Paper 1 educator. In this new YouTube video that we are bringing forward for you in this 30-day lecture plan, 30-day, the last lab, right? So in the previous lectures, in the previous YouTube videos, we have talked about research aptitude and the concepts which were related to those very things. The most important unit and the most difficult unit according to the students, in which they tend to get confused. So I have tried my level best to bring forth for you all the most important concepts along with the PYQs, correct? So here in this video, we are moving forward. We are bringing a new video where obviously the focus will be the important concepts, but with the usage of the PYQs. So the important concepts related to ICT, that is, the unit which we have in our this, paper 1, there we will be dealing with certain important concepts with the usage of PYQs. So without wasting any further time, let us just start and see what do we have as the first question in the series, the last lab. So the first question that I have here for you is ICT stands for. What is the full form of the word ICT? So you all can pause your videos and answer this question and then play it again to see what the answer was. The answer here is option C, which is information and communication technology. Let's just see what do we have here in the explanation for ICT part. Information and communication technology. First of all, let me just tell you that IT is a broader term, right? It is an extensional term for information technology, correct? So we have IT, information technology, and if we talk about information and communication technology, it all are interrelated. All of them are interrelated. And whenever, if we are thinking about in terms of the technological advances which have been there since ages, since the advent of the computer systems, the internet, the LAN, MAN, WAN, etc., we see that how now in a nick of second, in a nick of time, we are able to connect with people all over the world because we have internet, correct? And that internet is something which is the thing which is given to us because of this very thing, the ICT, correct? So ICT is not just exactly related with internet overall, but everything and anything which is related to a computer system, from a modem to a router, from a small mouse which is an input or an output device that we have, the input and output devices, all of them are the ones which comprise of this very thing, information and communication technology. Even if we talk about the e-services that we get, we talk about Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeal, etc., right? Where we order certain things. We order using Myntra, right? Ajio, etc. All of these things are the certain things which are provided to us because we have ICT, right? And there are certain models as well, which we will be talking about in the upcoming classes. But for now on, let's just see what the explanation we have here. So, stresses the role of unified communications and the integration of telecommunications, that is telephone lines and wireless signals. So if we talk about the voice over internet protocol which is there, through which we can make WhatsApp calls, etc. So all of these things also come under it. Also, if we talk about the educational front, if we talk about the digital initiatives, we see that how even in the educational front, even in the educational field, ICT is playing an important role because of the fact that it is introducing the students with certain portals where they can achieve credits for them studying only, for the educational part only, correct? The term ICT is also used to refer to the conversions of audiovisual and telephone networks with computer networks through a single cabling or a link system. So anything which is related to networking, anything which is related to audio visuals, all of those things are the units which come under the ICT part as well. So the next question that I have for you here is match the following. So pause your screens again, students, because this is a tough question for you all. So pause your screens as long as you want, but try to answer this question as correct as possible. The answer here that we have is option D. which is A4, B1, C2 and D3. Correct? So let us just look at the explanation that we have here for the switch, modem, router, etc. First of all, a switch is a hardware device. Now, whenever we talk about certain things in a computer system, there are hardwares and softwares. Softwares are the applications which are inbuilt, correct? But hardware is something which you can touch. So, hardware, first of all, can be touched, correct? Now, moving forward with what a switch is. A switch is a hardware device, which means that it can be touched, that connects multiple devices on a computer network, correct? So, it is basically like, there are multiple switches, and because of those switches, one can connect the computer systems, and all these things are used, the 4 things that we have talked about here are used for an internet connection, correct? A switch provides a direct connection between the source and the destination, which means that a computer which is connected to the internet and the thing which is providing the internet, the ISP, etc. A switch is used because of that only. It increases the speed of the network. So, the role of a switch, if we talk about here, increases the speed of the network. Hence, A is with 4th. Coming to the second thing, a router. Route, किसी चीज को route करना. What do we mean by routing? Router is something which makes ways, correct? A router is also a hardware device which is used to connect a LAN. What is the full form of LAN? This is a question for you all, which you will be letting me know in the comment section, correct? So, it is used to connect a LAN, which is a network, a type of network with an internet connection. It is used to receive, analyze and forward the incoming packets to another network. Now, when we talk about packets, packets are something which is data. In the computer terms, data divided in small bits and pieces is known as a packet, correct? So, whatever we have here, the incoming packets which come using the router and the internet connection are transferred to another network. So, if we talk about the router, is used to connect a LAN with an internet connection. Then we have the third question, term that we have here, modem. Now, another question for you all students, what is the full form of modem? Correct? So, you can let me know down in the comment section below, because these are certain things, these are certain abbreviations which you all should be, aware of. Coming back to what is a modem, again, it is also a hardware device that allows the computer to connect the internet over the existing telephone line. You all must be having internet connections at your homes. So, you will be seeing that there is a particular thing, there is a particular, switchboard which is there with you, where the internet service provider comes and provides you with the internet connection, correct? And where all the cords of the Wi-Fi, etc., these things are connected, and that is known as modem. It stands for modulator, demodulator. Here we have the answer as well. So, if we talk about the modem, if you would not have read the explanation, you would have known that this is what we have as the abbreviation, correct? It converts the digital data into an analog signal over the telephone lines. So, whatever data that we have in the digital form is first of all converted to the analog pattern, and then we have the internet connection, correct? So, hence we have modem converts the digital data into an analog system over the telephone lines. Then we have cable. In simpler terms, what is a cable? A cable is a wire, is a transmission media used for transmitting a signal. So, obviously, you need cabling when you want the internet connection to be there, correct? Even though the wireless, even if we talk about the wireless connections, the wireless connections also need a modem, which we have. Even if we have Wi-Fi at our homes, we are still connected using a cable. So, cable, transmission media used for transmitting a signal, correct? Moving to the next question that we have. On the keyboard of a computer, each character has an ASCII code, which stands for. So, this is another abbreviation that I have for you here. Pause your screens a little bit and see what we have as the answer. The answer to this question is option B, American Standard Code for Information Interchange, correct? What is it basically? First of all, let's just read it in the question only, that on a keyboard of computer, each character has an ASCII code. So whatever keyboard do you have, right, there it has a different code which is, connecting the computer, which is helping the computer to understand the language, which is telling the computer, passing them the signals that this is what the user has pressed as a button. Correct? So let's just see. It's a way to define a set of characters for encoding text documents on computer. So whatever we write, first of all we write using the keyboard. Correct? We type on a keyboard. Even if I'm typing Himani, right, the ASCII code for HIMANI will be different. Correct? So that the computer knows that first of all H is being pressed, I is being pressed, etc., so on and so forth. So obviously for the text documents it is there. The ASCII codes represent computers and other communication devices that use text. So whatever we have which is related to textual format, even in our phones, in our touch screens, there also we have the ASCII code, because it is helping the computer, the operating system of our phones, understand that what the user is pressing. It was the most popular computer encoding on the World Wide Web until December 2007. After that, it is surpassed by UTF-8, which uses ASCII as a subset. So this could be a factual question which can be asked, that after ASCII code, which is the one thing which has superseded it? That is UTF-8. Correct? The first version of ASCII was formed in 1963. Certain times the people, the examiners set the question paper and they ask the years, which is very rarely a case, but as we are providing you with so much information which is important from your examination point of view, you should note the dates which are required, right? So ASCII was formed in 1963. In a short time, it became very popular and was used in the computer world. It was first commercially used as a 7-bit teleprinter code promoted by Bell Data Services. Just a small factual information, need not write that. Correct? And it is originally based in the English alphabet, because in the keyboard we have A, B, C, D till the alphabets Z or Z, whatever you want to call it. It encodes 128 specified characters into a 7-bit binary integer. So basically, even if whatever keyboards, the numbers that we have here, the characters that we have on a keyboard, it has 128 specified characters for those very buttons that we have on a keyboard. Correct? So basically it is there for the encoding system, so that a computer, we encode, right, and the computer can decode it using what we have put as the information. Next question that we have here, pause your screens a bit. We want to know that what is the meaning, what does the word RAM stand for? The answer is option A, random access memory, right? So first of all, it stands for random access memory. It is used to store information that is used immediately, or we can say that it is a temporary memory. What is another name for temporary memory? Is it volatile or non-volatile? Comment down and let me know. Right? So first of all, RAM is a temporary memory, which means that whenever the computer, till the time the power is on, till the time the computer is on, it will have the data. And if the power is turned off suddenly, or the it goes off because of certain reasons, the data that you have on your computer which is unsaved will not be saved. Correct? Computers bring the software installed on a hard disk to RAM to process it and to be used by the user. So the RAM is a type of memory which is there on your computers, and it also is something which is related to the speed of your computer. So 4 GB computers with the 4 GB RAM, they run a bit slower as compared to an 8 GB computer. Correct? Once the computer is turned off, the data is deleted. This is why we are calling it a temporary memory. With the help of RAM, computers can perform multiple tasks, like loading applications, browsing the web, editing a spreadsheet. So whatever documents, whatever programs we are supposed to run, they are run because we have RAM installed in our computer. Correct? But basically, if the RAM is filled up, even if we reach at around 3.56 GB, but we have 4 GB as the RAM, our computer will slow down. So we'll have to have external RAM installed in our computer so that the speed and the efficacy of the computer improves. Correct? It allows you to modify quickly among these tasks. Remembering where you are in one task once you switch to a different task. So in a taskbar, we have different programs open, right? Here we have Chrome. If we talk about the Chrome, Google Chrome. Another we have Word, correct? On the other hand, we have Windows Media Player, correct? So it lets us know that if we want to switch from one thing to the other, and it helps us move from one task to the other. So multitasking is an option which comes with RAM. Correct? Memory is nearly always being actively employed by your computer, and it ranges from 1 GB to 64 GB depending on the specification. So whatever computer, laptop, desktop, etc. you have, it has its particular specifications which are related to it. So if you want the data, if you want the RAM to be, extra, you'll have to get it installed by some other person, right? The computer technician. So basically, it also depends on the computer's specifications when it comes to one getting the RAM, externally. Now, the next question is HTML. HTML stands for option A, that is Hypertext Markup Language. If you would have, some of you would have done HTML in your class 11th, 12th, where you would have seen that you all were able to create web pages using certain opening and closing tags, correct? So let's just see what it is and why is it used. Developed by Tim Berners-Lee in 1990, it is a short for Hypertext Markup Language, used to create electronic documents which are known as pages, or we can say that HTML is used to create web pages basically. That's why they are saying that pages that are displayed on the World Wide Web, correct? It is a language used for writing source codes for developing a web page, inserting content. So basically, when I was learning HTML, so there used to be certain tags. This is a paragraph tag. So whenever you open, you wrote a paragraph here, correct? And you closed the paragraph using this very thing, correct? So starting and closing tags were there in the HTML part. HTML is a markup language because it is used to distinguish HTML elements from the text, because we have certain other things, like even if we want to create a title page, first of all we are going to see what will be the title. We will fill in the title here and then close it like this, correct? So you are supposed to see that in this language these kinds of closing and opening tabs are used. I might be wrong if I say that this comes here as well. I'm just going to, I'm just trying to show you that we have this very thing to denote the closing of a particular tab, and the normal thing which is there for P and etc. That is for paragraph, title, body, font, etc. All those things are the ones which need to be closed, and certain tags are there which need not to be closed. We need not go that much into detail, but I was just, trying to give an explanation, because some of you who are watching the video might have done HTML, or some of you who haven't should know this thing, correct? So it is, first of all, it is not a programming language like C, C++. It is just a normal web page creating, language which is there, because it creates dynamic functionality, correct? Or it has, the ability, the other things apart from the HTML, the other programming languages have the dynamic functionality which is there, but HTML is not that, correct? Instead, it makes it possible to organize and format documents which are similar to the Microsoft Word. So it is an easier to use language. You can make certain web pages in Notepad, or you can make certain web pages in Microsoft Word as well, correct? When working with HTML, we use simple code. So basically the source coding, etc. This is not that difficult language such as C, C++, etc. This language is very easier than Python, etc. So it is, the source code is created, and because of the source code, when you run that program, a web page is opened which is created by you only. Next, we have another important thing from the examination perspective. A compiler is used to convert the following to object code which can be executed. So what amongst the following the compiler is converting, correct? So pause your videos again. The answer here is option A. High level language. A compiler is used to convert high level language to object code which can be executed. Let's just see here. First of all, a compiler, as we talked about, is a computer program. We will be talking about what are the different kinds of language processors which are there, because we are talking about the concepts here, correct? So, talking about the compiler first, it is a computer program which translates the code written in a high level language to a lower level language which is understood by the computer, correct? The most common reason for translating this source code is to create an executable program, correct? Let's just see here now what are the different kinds of language processors. First of all, we should all know that a computer works using only 2 digits. A computer understands only 2 digits, which are the binary coding 0 and 1. These 2 are the digits which is the language of a computer. And if, like us humans, we would not have been able to operate if talking in zeros and ones. The way I am communicating to you right now is way more simpler than me communicating the same thing in zeros and ones, correct? So 0 and 1 is something which is understood by the computer only. Coming back to why do we need language processors? Obviously, when you are writing a program, you are writing something on the computer, you need the computer to understand it and execute a particular program. That is why we need an assembler, compiler and interpreter, correct? That translates source code from one programming language to another, correct? They also identify errors during any execution or translation. So, we will see that how compiler, interpreter and assembler, if there are any errors, how do they tell us that there is an error? After running the entire program or after running, the statement where the error was there, correct? So, computer programs are usually written in high level languages like C++, Python and Java. To make them understandable by the computer, a language processor is needed, correct? So, there are 3 types as I talked about: assembler, compiler and interpreter. First of all, let's just talk about compiler because we had that in our question. Compiler is something which translates the high level language into low level or machine language. But the only important thing which we also want to remember, which has been asked in the UGC NET examination as a separate question, was that a compiler reads the entire program in one go. So whatever you have written in the programming language using the source code, the compiler will read that entire document, and at the end of the document, after reading it entirely, it will tell you that what line was, where was the error exactly. So we have these languages. In a compiler, the source code is translated to object code successfully if it is free of errors. So if you have a document, if you have a source code which is there, correct, and it is getting translated to the object code, which is the machine language, which is the computer's language, first of all it will read the entire document, and then by the end, as I told you, the compiler specifies the error at the end of the compilation with line numbers. So it is kind of easier because it reads the entire document, correct, and at the end it will specify that in this line you have error, you can correct it here, correct. The errors must be removed before the compiler can successfully recompile the source code again. So if you want your program to run, first of all you will have to remove all those errors which have been specified by the compiler after reading the entire document or reading the entire code which was there. Then we have assembler. If we talk about assembler, it is a program written in assembly language and it translates the program written in assembly language into machine language. What do we have is machine language? Machine language is zeros and ones. The source program is an input of an assembler that contains assembly language instructions. The output generated by this very thing, the assembler, is the object code or the machine code, because it is written in machine language, understandable by the computer. So obviously it is converting what we are writing into the language which is understood by the computer. All the three things will be doing the same, but the only differentiation between them will be that how in one go, in entirety, how it will be dealing with translating the program. It is basically the first interface that is able to communicate humans with the machine. We need an assembler to fill the gap between human language so that they can communicate with each other, humans and computers. So basically in an assembler, using the assembler, whatever documents, whatever instructions we are adding, it is going to convert them into the language which is understandable by the computer. So it is an easier form of language processor. The code written in this language, assembly language, in some sort of mnemonic instructions like ADD, MUL, MUX, SUB, DIV, MOV, correct? So these are, like for instance, if you have a program file and you post it like this, right? MOV, let's just take for example MOV. It means that it is a file which is movie related or a visual file, correct? So this thing, obviously a human can also read this very thing, but it is also being understandable on the end of the computer by translating it into the machine language. That is what is assembler is doing. So the programmable language which we are writing, the codes which we are writing here are obviously easier as compared to the language used in compiler or interpreter, because these codes are easy, human readable basically, correct? Here these mnemonics also depend on the architecture of the machine. For example, the architecture of Intel 8085 and 8086 are different. Even if the generations are same, right, they have a minor differentiation between the same, but the assembler is also differentiating between the two, because the generation is differentiated by 1, correct? So basically it has a certain differentiation, and the architecture is what matters there. Coming to the interpreter, we talked about the compiler translating the entire program and then telling us the errors. On the other hand, it is the opposite of the compiler, because it translates the single statement of the source program into machine code. So by one, it will read one line, then tell you if there is any error, second line, and then tell you if any error was there, correct? So it will read one line by line. So basically the differentiation between a compiler and an interpreter is that a compiler will read the entire document and an interpreter will read statement by statement or line by line, correct? If there is an error in the statement, the interpreter terminates its translating process. It will stop it there, the translating process will stop there and that statement, and displays an error message, and then you have to correct that error to restart the translation or the recompilation of the program. It moves to the next line for execution only after the removal of the error. Until and unless the error is not removed, you cannot move. You cannot let the interpreter go or read the entire document. It directly executes instructions written in programming or scripting language without previously converting them into an object code or machine code. So it does not really convert it to machine code, but it will collect it and translate it into a programming or scriptable language. Examples are Perl, Python and MATLAB, correct? Then we have the next question that for you I have here is, in computer and technologies, ring, mesh, tree, bus are known as what? These are the forms of option A, that is topologies in networking. First of all, let's just see what is a topology. Topology is the physical layout of connections between computers. So basically how the different computers are connected, what topology is being used will depend on that very thing, the physical layout. If there are many cables, obviously it's a mesh topology. If there is one cable which is linear in pattern, that will be bus topology, correct? So the various topologies are linear, bus, tree, mesh, star and hybrid. We will be looking on them one by one. First of all, we have is the bus topology. In a bus topology, let us just first see, there is just one cable, correct? And using this linear cable, we have connected different computers, correct? So every computer and network device is connected to a single cable in bus topology. So single cable is being used. Linear bus topology is defined as having exactly two terminal points. So basically in a bus topology, what you are going to see is that even if computers are there and other networking devices are there which are connected, they all will be connected using one cable only. Now the advantages are, installation is simple because less cabling is being used, and compared to other forms of topologies, mesh, star, tree topologies, it utilizes less cabling, and because of that installation is simple, correct? Disadvantages are difficulty in reconfiguring and isolating faults, because if there is one fault in one thing, the other programs will not run. The programs or the network in other devices won't run. A bus cable malfunction or break interrupts all communication. So if there is, a fault in this very computer, computer number 3, you will see that these computers also won't work in a bus topology. Correct? Then we have ring topology. As the name suggests, ring topology looks like this, looks like a ring that we have. Correct? And here we have a connector. Correct? Let's just see the definition. The topology is named ring topology because one computer is connected to another. Correct? Connected to another, with the final one being connected to the first. So let's just see if this is computer 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. This is the final computer which is connected to the first computer. So these are connected to one another. Exactly 2 neighbors for each devices. A signal is passed along the ring in one direction and each ring incorporates a repeater. So whatever signal will be passed from this device to this, it will have to pass from the other device. Advantages. Data transmission is relatively straightforward because packets only move in one direction. Correct? There is no requirement for a central controller to manage communication between nodes. Because of the fact that there are different nodes which are attached here in this ring topology, the network that we are going to, if we are going to send a file to different computer, it will reach it, right? But in a straightforward manner. Easy installation, it can be easily installed, and simplified faulty connection. So if there is a fault in one computer, one can easily identify it. Disadvantages are that it is unidirectional ring, which means a data packet must transfer through all nodes. So if I want to send data from computer 1 to computer 3, it will have to transfer from 2 as well. Correct? So that is the biggest disadvantage. Why can it not go linear? All computers must be turned on in order for them to connect with one another. So, or if, because they are connected using one cable, one connector which is there. So even if I want to use these 2 computers which are there, I'll have to turn all of the computers on. I'll have to turn them on. Correct? Then we have the star topology. In the star topology, let us just first see. There is a hub which is there. There is a hub as a connector which will be connecting different computers. Each device in a star topology has a dedicated point-to-point link to a central controller. For instance, here we have a hub. Correct? So a direct center-to-center, point-to-point termination is being used, which is commonly referred to as a hub. There is no direct connection between the devices. Traffic between the devices is not allowed in this topology. So basically, if something is, stopping one device to the other from going one device to the other, it will be there. Correct? What are the advantages of this star topology? When attaching or disconnecting devices, there are no network interruptions because hub, first of all, is a device which is internet related. Correct? So even if you remove one computer from there, from one connection, and hub has multiple ports which are there. Correct? So if you disconnect one computer from the network, other computers will still work. More cable required compared to bus or ring because different computers are being connected to one hub. Too much, these are the disadvantages that we are talking about. Too much dependency on hub, and we forgot to see the advantages. Coming back to the advantages, it's simple to set up and configure, so installation is easier. Identifying and isolating faults is also simpler because it is being used using a hub. So if there is a fault in one computer, you can simply remove it and see the check what was the fault which was there. Less expensive than mesh and easy to install and configure. Correct? And disadvantages we have already talked about, that more cable is required. Too much dependency on hub. If the hub will stop working, all the computers of the systems which are connected using this topology will stop working. Now we have mesh topology. In mesh topology, every device has a dedicated point-to-point, just like the star one, connectivity to every other device. Let's just see the mesh topology. Correct? So here, all the computers are dedicated, have a point-to-point dedicated lines. The term dedicated refers to the fact that link exclusively transports data. So point to point here, by point to point means if I want to transfer data from here to here, it can be done. Data can be sent from multiple devices at the same time. This is an advantage, and this topology can handle a lot of traffic. So traffic in computer terms is basically that even if you are transferring your data packets, even if you are transferring your data, it stops. There is an interruption between of, because a lot of data is being transmitted. But here in the mesh topology, the traffic, even if the traffic is there, the data can be transferred, and the data can be transferred at the same time to multiple devices. So from here to here, all the devices it can be transferred. But the disadvantages that we have here are the amount of cabling obviously is so much, and the number of input output ports are necessary. All of these things are something which are required in a larger number when it comes to one having a mesh topology. The sheer bulk of wiring can be greater than the available space one can accommodate. So even if you have a small office space or wherever you want the mesh topology to be there, though it will have a lot of wiring, and because of that the space will obviously be covered, which is a disadvantage. Difficult to install. If we talk about the ring, the star, bus topology, all of them were easier to install, but mesh topology is difficult to install and reconfigure. Example, the connection of a telephone regional office in which each regional office needs to be connected with another regional office, and because of that the wiring is being used a lot, and the network connections, it will have certain kind of things which will be disadvantageous. Then we have tree topology. Let's just see first of all what is a tree topology. See here, with one hub, multiple devices. Then a cabling is there with one hub, multiple devices, one hub, multiple devices using single cable. The topology of a tree is similar to that of a star. In a tree, like those in a star, are connected to a central hub. As I have made you see that a hub is something which is connecting all the computers which are there, but there are multiple hubs as well, correct? It has a root node which is connected to all other nodes, producing a hierarchy. So it has a hierarchical structure. So even if this node is there, this is connecting to other devices, a hub, and these are also connecting to other devices. Advantages are network extension is both possible and simple because you are using different hubs, but those hubs are also connected, because hubs are something which provide one person with the internet connection. So if you have this thing in your office or wherever you want this to be installed as a topology, correct, you will be able to have different networks, correct, basically network at a larger scale. So expansion of network will be there. We partition the entire network into pieces that are easier to manage and maintain. So see here, it is manageable because one hub and three computers, even if those are hierarchically placed at different nodes they are placed, but they are connected. But if we want to see that if there is a faulty connection in one hub, in one computer, we can go and visit that hub and we can check it correctly, correct? Other segments that are unaffected in one segment if one segment is damaged. So if a hub is there and these computers will be damaged, the other segments won't have any effect of that damage which has been done to the first hub. Disadvantages are, it relies largely on the main bus cable, the bus topology cable that we were talking about. It is there, right? So it depends largely on that because of its basic structure, and if it fails, if this cabling fails, all the three hubs will fail, and the computers which are sub-segmented there, all of them will also stop working. Maintenance becomes more challenging when more nodes and segments are added, because a person will keep on adding more computers here with hubs, more computers here with hubs. So the maintenance will be, something which one can lack at times. Next question that we have here is the full form of the abbreviation of BIOS. The answer here is option C, that is Basic Input Output System. As the name suggests, first of all, it is a program on a computer's microprocessor that which is used to start the computer system after it is powered on. So when a computer, you turn the computer on, the BIOS will run, correct? and it will manage data flow between the computer's operating system. For instance, we have Windows, Linux, etc., and the attached devices. So if we have a printer which is there, if we have an adapter which is there, mouse, etc., all of these things, because it is talking about the basic input and output system, so it will be talking about the input devices, it will be talking about the output devices only after the computer is turned on, and it is something which is attached to a microprocessor of a computer. So if you turn on a computer, this microprocessor will be the one which will be connecting the Windows, the operating system, whatever you have as the Windows system, Mac, Windows system, etc. All those things, Mac operating system, will be connected to the devices. Only then your computer obviously will work. Correct? Next we have the last question for today, which says that which of the following allows the display of 3D images? This was a recent question which was asked in the year 2021. The answer here is option C, that is VRML, that is Virtual Reality Modeling Language, which is also known as Virtual Reality Markup Language. Correct? If we talk about HTML, HTML was there to create web pages. Virtual reading or virtual reality modeling language is something which is there to create something which is related to virtual reality. What is virtual reality? Something which is related to 3D things. Correct? So, a standard file format for representing 3-dimensional or 3D interactive vector graphics. Even if you search on Google for certain vector images, right, and if you copy paste them in your PPT, in your Word, you will see that they do not have a background, and the background, if you have in your Word file as blue background, correct, and you download a vector image and you paste it on that very thing, it will have that blue background only. Correct? So 3D things are being used, particularly with the World Wide Web in mind. It has been superseded by X3D. VRML is a text file format where, for example, vertices and edges for a 3D polygon which is there can be specified along with the surface color. So basically it is something which is related to 3D. And if we talk about the virtual reality, we cannot miss out on 3D things. We go and watch out 3D movies. For instance, Avatar, we watch Marvel movies, etc. All those things are there and we can watch it using the 3D glasses which are provided to us. But those things which are created, the graphics which are created using this very language, which is known as virtual reality modeling language or virtual reality markup language. Correct? So students, this is all what we had in today's class or YouTube lecture that we had for you in the 30-day plan. We will be meeting again and make sure to answer the questions that I have asked you in this very video. Correct? We will be meeting again in some new video. Till then, keep smiling, keep on studying. Thank you so much.